Howdy. Morning and happy Saturday, except it's afternoon here, 1 p.m. I'm not going to do a lot of cooking today. That's my upfront disclaimer. My kitchen is quite messy. Sorry. I think I've had a pretty intense week, so a lot of stuff has piled up. But I'm hoping to use the next hour to sort it out a little bit, sort out my space, sort out my mind, sort out my thoughts about myself, show you guys some stuff that I thrifted this week, and yeah, I might get a little emotional today. Don't worry about it. If you've been here before, you know how I get, but I've been doing a lot of thinking about myself, being the egocentric person that I am, especially on these lives. You cried out work today, Godzilla Pie. I hope it's a good release. Hi, Toronto, and yeah, I don't even know where to start, honestly, so we're just going to start anywhere. I'm going to rinse these and put them away. The feeling of exhaustion has not left me yet, and physically speaking, I am able to do a little more than I was last week, but my urinalysis strips have sporadically been telling me that there is presence of trace of blood and maybe trace of protein, which is like even worse than trace of blood. So I'm keeping an eye on that, but I would be lying if I said I'm not worried. But also I've realized, rationally speaking, there's no point in worrying, because the next thing that I would need to do is to figure out my health insurance, and if I want to not have this condition go worse, if I consistently get those results on my urinalysis strips, then I'm going to go need to do a checkup, and maybe get treatment, and we'll have to play the cards that were dealt. There's always thoughts of, what if I did this differently? Would it have led to this current situation? And the answer, I think without fail, is always yes. If you did different things, you would be in a different spot. But who's to say that you would not be oh so sad in that other choice? This sticker is very noisy, but it is peeling mostly clean. Mostly clean. Well, I'm not seeking treatment yet, because I still don't have health insurance, but I'm keeping an eye on the test strips to see if the condition worsens. And if it does, then we will have to seek treatment. I mean, we don't have to, but I likely will at least figure out what's wrong with me before I die. thing we're gonna put away is we're gonna use these protein powder tubs that have been rinsed. I bought this huge bag of Chinese dates, jujubes for grandma. So we're just gonna put them, after I eat a couple, in there. There's a pit in the middle. Be careful. You know, I realized when I was in the store that these jujubes are probably produced with slave labor too. Because the store had advertised them as Xinjiang dates. And I have been called out many times on Instagram by Zionists who were not happy with how I spoke about Palestine, pointing out that I said nothing at all about China's oppression and probably genocide of some sort, we don't really know, of the Uyghurs, another Muslim population in China. So there it is. These might be slave dates. I just don't know anymore. I had a friend tell me yesterday that, you know, she needs to develop her dream of moving to South America faster because shit's going down and she doesn't like it. But honestly, where in the world can we go? Are these ills not globalized? I'll label these with some tape. Oh, man. Things have been interesting. How has your weeks been? Why don't you fill me up on updates first before I fill you up on updates? I don't know if I'm ready to go yet. This is a rarity. Even Denmark is getting fascist. Shitty all around. Some interviews good, some not great. Market is better, but not great. More people are getting laid off in my industry. What's your industry? What industry is crashing now? Hi, Philly. Your cat likes the sound of my voice. That's lovely. What is your cat's name? Should I call its name out? Social work. Fascinating. Tech. Yes, tech seems to be a little bit collapsing. I'm not sure exactly what's happening. Maybe with the advent of AI being more developed and machine learning kind of smoothing out, maybe we are getting less and less of a need for actual humans across all industries. Bruno. Hi, Bruno. Did you get to eat your lunch yet, Bruno? Okay, dates are put away. Let's recycle. Should I recycle this? Do I have any use for this? Will I be buying another 4-pack of beers that will fit into this holder? I'm not sure. This feels like a waste. I'll hold on to it for now, for another month or two, before I decide it's absolutely useless and I'll never touch it again, and then we'll throw it out. Starting to look cleaner already, clearer at least. It's making me very happy. This was an oatmeal bag. I'm going to put it in the freezer in case I can use it as a Ziploc bag since I know it's clean and food safe. Great, that's out of the way. Oh, next project. I can't, this OXO thermometer battery compartment's lid is stripped. I can't use the coin to open it up anymore because it's stripped. Do you have any idea how to get this cover out so I can replace the battery and make this usable? Otherwise, I'm gonna have to toss the whole thing, which would be very sad indeed. I went to TJ's yesterday and I got some goat Gouda, some sunflower seed butter, and some butter. Stick a centimeter of duct tape on the lid and try to twist it. Glue stick? Hello, fresh from the coven. Glue stick? I don't know if I have duct tape, to be honest with you. I have Scotch tape. Well, this is kind of like duct tape. Okay, let's see. So am I putting it on the lid and then using the coin to help it not strip? It's still stripping. It's really stuck in there, I'm afraid. Not a very well-made product, unfortunately. Super glue something to it. I really don't want to throw this out, but yeah, no, you see, there's no like real. Try pulling a piece of tape like a handle. It won't stick. It's plastic. It won't. Yeah, I would need super glue, which I don't have right now. I can't pry it because there's almost no space here for me to sink even my nail into. I tried doing a knife. It's too tight of a fit for me to feel like I'm going to break my nail doing this. So I'll keep it on the back burner for now, but I don't think it's going to happen. Try steaming it? Yeah, I think the battery could have exploded for sure inside. Scratch a new groove into it, like perpendicular to it. That's gonna take a lot of time and energy, guys. I think I'm just stripping it even further now. All right, maybe not today. maybe not today. Time and energy is limited today. You need one of those labels that leave residue on a surface and use a script to turn it with your finger. Okay, next time I have a next time I have a jar de-stickering, I'll be sure to save that. Thank you for the tip. What are we going to clean next? I'm going to use this little piece of paper and we're going to clean our stove gently. Not a huge mess, but there is some splatter. Visually speaking, if I can clean this up, I'll feel 2.8% better. And we're going to slide cast iron inside the oven. We're going to slide this back on the stove. We're going to slide this also into the oven. We're going to put this snack on top over here. We're going to jar up the yogurt. That's right. Hold on. Need to wipe the counter first. I think while we're doing this cleaning, I should boil some water and we should make some tea. Me just making a mess everywhere. Wiping the scale. Wiping the counter. Wanted to show off these two cans. I thought this can was beautiful. I'm still going to recycle it because I have absolutely no use for it. And then this one, if you like dried mango and sour beers, highly recommend this one. Super delicious. Thank you for the kind words, Natasha. I may be inspiring on screen, but it's another interpretation and experience altogether in person. I was actually just talking about this with a friend, and we were talking about, you know, running social media for a business versus how I run my social media, like on Instagram, which is to say, not at all a business because I don't really sell anything. I don't really promote much. Like, I think when I used to make feature-length videos, I would promote it when it goes live, but I wouldn't be one of those content creators who like promote it almost endlessly for a week. And I was thinking about how my friend was telling me, well, it seems like people really connect with you, you know, like she was noticing how the comment section would always be people saying, thank you so much for sharing, June. I've experienced the same thing, or I've had the same thoughts, and it's really nice to hear you put it into words. But that level of transparency and self-awareness, I feel like, has really been quite detrimental in my personal and private life and relationships, both with my mom and with dating, I've discovered. So don't worry, I have a session with my therapist tomorrow to definitely explore this a little bit further, but just thinking about what works online versus what works in real life. Is it possible that I just haven't met the right person who can tolerate or even appreciate or even adore this aspect of transparency that I hold? Or is it that transparency is actually truly damaging to the degree that I give it and hope to receive it? I don't know. Like, I think this has been something that feels very polarizing for me inside, because obviously I don't want to hurt the people in my life. But I think my transparency ends up hurting the people in my life a lot. And is it a part of a personality disorder? Or is it a part of neurodivergency? Or is it a part of mental illness? At this point, we have so many different pockets of stuff you could be, that I don't even know what the issue is anymore half the time, but I do know that people close to me, people who are in relationship with me, struggle with it sometimes. And maybe I'm just one of those people who don't belong in relationships, you know? That's also something that I've been thinking about. It's possible. That's a good idea, Nancy, but again, I feel like I will hurt myself in that process. I certainly don't have the energy to do that today, but noted. Thank you for the recommendation. And it's also possible that I'm meaner to the people that I'm in a closer relationship to, because I feel like I can maybe bypass certain filters that I normally would not bypass when I'm talking to people who aren't that close to me. That's also a problem. That's a separate problem from transparency, I think. So yeah, I don't know. There's a lot to think about. A lot to consider and sort out internally and figure out how to not hurt myself and how to not hurt other people, and also the difference between self-intellectualization, which I think I do a lot, and self-awareness. Is there a difference? What is the difference? How does self-intellectualization make me think that I'm self-aware but actually mislead me, and give me false confidence and self-righteousness, and in turn make me into an asshole in my everyday relationships and communications? This is all stuff that like really hurts to think about, but also unavoidable if I want to not do this anymore. Happy name change. Okay, this counter has been cleared quite a bit, which is great. I'm going to rinse out my teapot, and we're gonna brew some tea with this water. For those of you in the chat who have dated and had relationships, do you find that you learn something more about yourself with every new relationship? Or do you feel like you're learning the same things about yourself in every iteration of relationship? And do you learn more good things or bad things? And I'm not going to make a value judgment of what's good and bad. I'm just using it at a very superficial level of, does this thing make you feel good about yourself, or does this thing make you feel bad about yourself? feel like I learned I feel like I confirmed a lot of so-called badness about myself recently. So that's been what I've been mentally processing lately. True. DZD says, with my partner, I learn more about myself, but it really depends on your partner. WH says, you realize your limits and how they can be stretched. You also realize new triggers or ones that have always been there, and realize for some people it's not okay. Unicornful says, both. As I grow as a person, I find comfort in knowing that some things don't change at my core. Oh man, yeah, that is for sure something that I've been thinking about constantly. And it's like really hard when you know that like there's something that's you technically should change, but you also feel like it's not you to change into. And I guess that's kind of like fighting or challenging the ego that Buddhism tries to challenge a lot. But who are we without our egos too, you know? Like, yeah, Buddhism has great ideals of how to live with reduced suffering by letting go of attachments and letting go of ego, but can we actually do it? Do we actually want to do it? I think that's also a more significant question than can I do it, is do I want to do it? Am I willing to change in this way? Am I willing to make the trade-off of no longer being this person who does this thing in order to be a person who doesn't do this thing? And what would that change mean for me? So there's all the stuff that goes behind making that decision of whether or not you change. So yeah, I think relationships are painful in that they make you kind of question yourself in a way. Not necessarily a bad thing, but I do feel like it is quite a painful thing for a lot of us. Becca says both, but mostly negative stuff because that's what causes conflict and pain. WH says, hopefully they are willing to be patient and work through those. If you like or love the person enough, you could mitigate it, but it never goes away. Fresh from the Coven says, there are things at my core that make people feel uncomfortable, and I will not change them because they are my core values. And again, that is exactly what I've been feeling like too. But it's like, I'm finding out that the way I perform my core values hurt people in my life, cause them pain, and like, it's interesting, you know, because I was talking with Aaron about relationship stuff, to get his views on who I was as a person, as a partner, while we were in a relationship together. And I know that we never had like the smoothest time sometimes, but he also said to me that sometimes I used to talk to Alexa and Google Home in a nicer manner than I would talk to him, and like that really put it in such a perspective for me to be like, what were you doing, June, that you were talking to machines nicer than you were talking to your partner? So I do have blind spots. And what's scary is I don't know what I'm doing that again. Like, I wasn't even aware of the fact that I would do that. So it scares me what else I'm not aware of that I've been doing. And Aaron is a very vocal person, so like, he can tell me these things because he knows that this is what I've asked for him to tell me, so he's telling me it. But other people I feel like who are more guarded, who aren't as transparent or willing to be, probably just won't tell me the ways in which I've hurt them. And not to compare it, to like work dynamics, but also to use work dynamics as an example. Before I got fired, before I got dragged into HR meetings, my supervisor told me in our pretty confrontational meeting that I lack situational awareness. Now, obviously, there's other factors at play there in that exchange, but it is very possible that I do lack situational awareness. So whose reality do I trust? And I'm not really seeking answers, but I am. But not from you. I'm just thinking out loud for the most part right now. I'm not sure I'm not on the spectrum. 2 friends who have been diagnosed with autism have been telling me recently, one just like volunteered the information that I might be on the spectrum, and then I reached out to the second one who's also diagnosed with autism, and I was like, hey, I have an autistic friend who told me this, like, what do you think? Based on our interactions, do you think I could be on the spectrum? And then I talked with him maybe like a month or 2 ago first about this, and then since then, like, I reached back out, and he was like, you know, more and more I'm starting to think you could be. And WH says the way you deliver the message is important. You are the master of your words. And I think that's very bullseye for me. I think I do need to work on delivery a lot, but the problem is I don't even know what the right way to deliver it is, you know? So like if I am actually on the spectrum, that's another foreign language for me. The way that I was talking about sex being a foreign language for me in terms of like interacting with people and dating as someone who identifies more asexually, I'm finding out that now that like maybe my tone is also a huge issue that I'm just coming to realize how damaging it can be, because maybe I just don't understand the more normal tones that people feel like I should be using. So what does this mean for me? You know, like, yeah. I am feeling much better though about the clean counters. I do, you know, I'm learning that emotional regulation apparently is a characteristic that's possibly autistic too. I remember in freshman year of college, there was a moment where I was so severely embarrassed because a friend had said 1 or 2 sentences to me that like elucidated a sort of weakness within me. And it wasn't even that mean. And I realized that it wasn't even that mean. But I also realized that even hearing this not so mean feedback propelled me into tears that I couldn't help and I couldn't control and I couldn't pull it back. And I just like cried, you know? I don't know. It's interesting for sure to think about all of this possibilities. Oh, that's really dirty. Gross. it is a cultural thing too. There's so many things that play here, you know, like I think from an American context, it could be seen as spectrum or some sort of other neurodivergencies. But I keep in mind, I'm also born Chinese. I also have cultural barriers. I also was an immigrant twice before the age of 8. There were, as with all of us, family dynamics at play. So like, how do we suss out what's what? And do we need to suss out what's what? Maybe that's not important in and of itself. Maybe I just need to know how to deal with the symptoms of all of these things without having to diagnose and name the condition. But even so, it's like hard to kind of digest all of this information and understand how to incorporate it. How do I define kindness to myself and to others? I define it by truth and honesty, so that I'm not hiding anything from them, and I don't want them to hide anything from me, because I think the only way to treat someone with the most amount of respect, like true respect, is to let them know what's actually on your mind, so they can make the judgment of whether or not they want to be with you, you know? But I feel like saying everything that's on your mind and being that honest is not acceptable, and I could see the reasons why. But my ideal world, I would be able, especially if it's with someone that I love and care about and want to trust, I would be able to say to them, and I would be able to listen to them say to me exactly what we think of each other. And it's not to say like, hey, you're doing this wrong, or hey, this is your fault. But it's more of my way of communicating, okay, here's what I'm seeing you do, here's what I prefer, this might be a problematic dynamic, do you want to proceed or not? Are you willing to work on this with me or not? But I think, someone said earlier, WH I think said earlier, it has to do with your tone and how you deliver it. You're the master of your words. It's not so much the words that I struggle with, but I think it is a matter of delivery and tone that I struggle with. I've also been told that I speak really loudly sometimes, especially when I'm like agitated or passionate, good or bad passion about something, and I don't even realize that my voice volume is increasing until it's been pointed out to me. I do feel like this increasing pressure in my throat because of the raise in volume, but I've always thought it was just because I'm Chinese, because Chinese people can be really loud when they talk to each other sometimes, Not all Chinese people, but like a lot of Chinese people can be really loud. So again, is it culture or is it neurodivergency? I'm gonna read some comments. You personally like compersion. Okay, that's fascinating. I just learned of that word recently. Vicarious joy associated with seeing one's partner have a joyful romantic or sexual relation with another. It's kind of like a more professional way of saying you like being cuckolded, but I also agree with that. Not necessarily I want to see my partner have sex with someone, but I think the goal for me is to overcome my natural or my societally trained inclination towards feeling jealousy and possession over another person, and to be able to let them go and find someone else who is more suited for them. That's why I think I would like to be the kind of person who can remain friends with her exes, because I feel like once you've loved and appreciated and cared for someone, just because you're no longer in a monogamous relationship with them doesn't mean that you can't continue to share in that love and care and appreciation. It is hard though, right? Because the desire is to always be with the person that you love. But if they truly aren't a fit for you and you love them, doesn't that mean that you want the best for them? And if there is indeed someone else out there who's better for them, then what would make you happy genuinely is to see the person that you care for be happier. Asexual is very common for autistic people. Interesting. I have looked into my sexuality. I've made a whole video on it. And I have been navigating how to have romantic relationships while feeling more asexually identified. It doesn't mean that I'm, sex averse, but I think it has to pass through a certain grouping of checkboxes for me to feel the desire and comfort to be with someone sexually. Let's take a look at my thrifted things. I keep the comments coming. I don't find them offensive at all. I think my friend who reached out to me about me possibly being on the spectrum actually told me that what might help me best, given that I'm 34 and female, and probably if I were on the spectrum have had to mask my whole life, that it would be very hard to diagnose, and it's a lengthy process, and it costs a lot of money, none of which I want to participate in. That, she said reading other people's anecdotes might really help you see where you might identify with certain things that are autistic. So share away if you so please. We're going to keep me on track. I'm going to show you my thrifted bowls and plates. We're going to put them in the dishwasher. And then I have to package the yogurt, which I have neglected for like a whole week. So I'm letting you hold me accountable. Before I log off, we have to take care of the yogurt. Honesty and kindness are sometimes mutually exclusive in my experience. Grace wins. Do you want to expand on that? Not the honesty and kindness being mutually exclusive. I totally understand that. But grace wins. Can you explain a little bit about that? Grace from whom, to whom, for whom, and how to use grace. I think compersion is doing something they want, but because they enjoy it, it brings you joy. Yes, I think I, as more asexually inclined, that is exactly how I experience a lot of sexual interaction sometimes. Although you're neutral or not as into it at the moment, you see how much they like it, and because you see you like them, you subsequently like it too. Yeah, it's basically like allowing myself to be infected by another person's interest because I'm interested in them. So with that definition of compersion, I agree with it. I totally participate in that behavior and thinking as well. Your dad was hot-headed, so was mine. He's leveled out now because he's almost 70, so he's like gotten old and chill, but my dad was hot-headed. In regards to tone, an example of if you want, you let your partner know something that bugs you, I would approach it like this. Hey boyfriend, could I give you some feedback right now? Sometimes it bothers me that. Yeah, so contextualization of it, lead up to it, introducing it instead of just going into it hot without introduction. Something that's definitely been on my mind. Here's a plate. Bowl. Plate bowl? This was $6. It was kind of expensive. All of these were kind of more expensive than I'm used to paying for thrifted bowls, but I was in a mood. Retail therapy, guys, sometimes. A slightly bigger version with a slightly different pattern. Oh, so 6. Obviously, they need to be in the mindset, so let them answer the questions if they are willing to receive it. Thank you for the suggestion. I don't know if it's Peter's Pots. And it just has like this, it almost looks like a stick figure 5, like a number 5 inside the rectangle. But yeah, this one says 23 and then an insignia. And then I think these were also 5 and 6. Yes, they do look very handmade. Thank goodness these stickers are peeling mostly clean. I would have thrown a fit. Pretty cool, huh? Oh, there. It's easier to see that insignia now. It also looks like a curved upright arrow or like a bent cross. Weird. And here's the 4th one. It's a bowl. It's a tiny bowl too, it fits on the palm of my hand. All right, now we're gonna do yogurt. And we're gonna eat some leftovers. Multitask it. I have some mashed potatoes and gravy that I made on I don't remember what live, and some second batch of mushrooms that I made when we were shooting the new spices. I'm just going to put everything into the glass jar and have it heat up that way. And I'm also going to warm up a piece of cornbread on top. That's not there. What's your best tip so I'm not scared of my Instant Pot? Why are you scared of your Instant Pot? Let's start with your fear first. I won't know how to give you advice until I know what we're trying to solve here. I don't think there's anything to be scared of with an Instant Pot. You scared of the noise and the pressure? I've never had an Instant Pot explode on me. That must mean that your seal isn't on right. It's not that hard, I don't think, to use it properly. When I worked at Delish, there was a recipe that I tested 4 times. No problem, but we got such horrible reviews with it, so it could be the model of Instant Pot that you have. I like a 6 quart. Aaron has an 8 quart. He hasn't had issues with it either. He has one that's like black, matte, and like super sleek looking. I just have the one that my mom left behind because she never used it. But this is the rubber seal. Just make sure that it's aligned with the metal ring and that none of it is sticking out, and that should mean that your pressure is in. The other thing that you can forget is to make sure that it's set to venting if you don't want it to pressure cook, or set to sealing if you have it on the pressure cooking setting. This just basically changes how it cooks, because if you trap all the pressure in there, it cooks much faster. And when you do a natural release, you don't even have to toggle this, because you just wait for this little thingy, the metal thingy, to release and drop down. When it drops down, like it's right now, there's no pressure on it. When it's all the way at the top and full, flush with the top, that means there's pressure in it. If there's pressure in it and you don't want it to naturally release because that takes too long, and you want to, you know, fasten the release of pressure, then you're going to very carefully, some people don't even want to touch it because they're scared of the pressure shooting out and hurting their hand. You can just nudge it with like a utensil and not even make physical contact with this. I've never gotten burnt unless you're like doing this with your hand while you're moving it. Yeah, don't do that. Just use this. When you toggle it, steam will shoot out. Make sure there's nothing like cupboards preventing the steam from escaping successfully so that you're not causing water damage to your cabinets. But I think it's pretty straightforward. It's just like cooking on the stovetop, but much more powerful. Here's the yogurt that I made with grandma's milk. We're gonna jar it so I can functionally use my Instant Pot again. This is always the nice first scoop. Tastes like yogurt. Tastes pretty good. These kids are driving me nuts outside. But in a way, I guess, this is what I do to people. If I'm like a kid stomping on the ramp outside, causing a shit ton of noise, and I don't actually know that it's causing other people harm, then I'm just gonna keep doing it, right? And if other people don't call me out and say, knock it off, that's really fucking annoying, or that hurts my feelings immediately as I'm doing the action, then I'm gonna be very confused when they tell me, like, after the fact, or years later, after relationships have already been ruined, that all this time I was doing certain actions or engaging in certain behaviors that they were not actually comfortable or cool with. Like these kids running up and down the stamps and this metal accessibility ramp outside. It's like really annoying to me right now, but I'm not in a relationship with them, so I don't really have investment in telling them what not to do beyond my own mental health. And I've learned to tell myself that it doesn't matter if the kids run outside for half an hour on the ramp and be annoying as fuck. But I don't want to be that kid in someone else's life. Does that make sense? And it bothers me that I don't know when I am being that kid. Especially when it comes to people that I care about. I obviously don't want to cause additional badness or stress in their lives, but apparently I do. And now I'm worried that because other people aren't like me, and they can't really give me direct feedback the way I'm used to giving people because they consider it unkind, and they prioritize kindness over truthfulness, that I will never have that connection with someone where I can expect them to be on my level of interpretation and existence in the world. Like, I think that's the saddest part for me. Is feeling like nobody else operates the way that I do. So while I can learn to be with them under their rules, although it would take me a lot now to learn that, because now I have to undo a lot of my behaviors that I've done for 3.5 decades. It always feels like, again, I'm the wrong one, you know, especially when the evidence is overwhelmingly that people prefer the other way, that I'm not. And WH says they tolerate because they love and care, they love and like you. It wasn't a deal breaker for them, but if it was and they don't tell you, that's on them. What I've noticed is that people have a hard time telling me that it bothers them, and I only learn that it bothered them when it comes time to not be in each other's lives anymore. You know what I mean? Like, they hold it within themselves because they think it's unkind to give me that feedback, while we still have a chance of working it out. But they choose to be kind in their interpretation of kindness. Yeah. I don't really know how to deal with that. And a therapist recommended the weekly check-in, WH, by the way. And I did try that with Aaron. But Aaron always looked at it like it was unnecessary and a chore, you know? So it's like, again, it's about finding a partner who's willing to do this with you. For you straight folks out there who maybe are women who date men, have you had great success in having these talks? Because I feel like, even with my limited dating experience and, you know, data pool, that straight men aren't really engaged in that kind of ritual the way that I would want them to be invested. It seems like when they do agree to it, it's because there's a thought in their head that goes, oh, this is June's need, so I'll just go along with it. Or, yeah, this is what women do, so I'll just do it. But it's not really like out of an organic desire to work on the relationship together. And I think, Deanne, maybe it's me that's actually being the person who insists on changing other people. So I think I am actually the one who needs to work on myself more when it comes to relationships. maybe I do need to just call it quits and move on. Maybe I need to be more normative in that way and not destroy people's feelings by giving them feedback about how to bridge our differences. Because in doing that, it highlights what I perceive to be incompatibilities in a way that if I deliver it in the wrong tone, it totally just sounds like I disapprove of their way of being, when that's not at all my intention. There is a kind way to tell the truth. I would love to know what people express truths, how people express truths in a way that is kind. I think I need to work on that. I think that's been my blind spot. I think I have been mean in my relationships without realizing it. I mean, I have realized it. There are moments where I am intentionally mean, but that's because I realize I'm angry and I'm acting on that anger, which is not a healthy thing to do, but I do it because I'm human. But I'm more worried about the times when I don't realize I'm being mean, but I am very much being mean from the other person's perspective. Yeah, so, regarding the explosive versus avoidant dynamic, what kind of work do you need to reach that middle ground? And again, I think it comes back to both partners being willing to do that. Right, I don't intend on being mean. I think I realize now that it is very much a tone issue because I've gotten this feedback now from different people. So it's undeniable. But how do I become aware of it, I think, is what I'm struggling with. Because I think until I can become aware of what I'm doing, I can't actually change my behaviors in an effective way that prevents hurt feelings. It's not that I want to be mean most of the time. Sometimes I want to be mean because I'm a bitch. But when I don't want to be mean and I'm perceived as such, damn, that seems like I can't win. I can't actually change myself for the better. True. You cannot change other people, WH says. You can guide, but if they can't change, it's a part of them. Prioritize which ones you want them to change. Deal breakers, you can't have it all. Yes. Very good to hear. Thank you so much for sharing that. So true. Perhaps the tone is simply frustration because you haven't talked about something soon enough. That's also a really good point, actually, because I do a lot of meta thinking sometimes about being rude and bitchy to people, and then I hold myself back from saying certain things. But then I actually really never actually learn how to say things in a more kind way. So maybe when it comes out, I'm already speaking with the context within me of frustration or sadness or hurt or anxious thoughts of being a failure myself. So valid. That's a very, very insightful thing for me to think about. So thank you also for sharing that. Nice handle, Simp. Simp says, I just wanted to say I really appreciate your radical honesty and vulnerability. I'm pretty repressed, but I'm trying very hard to work on it. I want to be honest like that and value people who are. There is a cost to this honesty, right? Like someone said earlier, sometimes honesty and kindness can be mutually exclusive. Even though I don't define honesty and kindness in the same ways that other people do. I can recognize what kindness is to other people, even if I don't agree with it. It's kind of like being asexual and recognizing that other people are handsome, even though I'm not attracted to them. It's like I can recognize something that is true for other people without experiencing it myself. So I guess that's a sort of cognitive empathy and understanding, and not so much like an organically emotional, self-connected one. Identifying it is one thing, but I feel like an important part is understanding why it started happening in the first place, if possible. Yeah, that's what therapy is for, I guess. I think there is some very fundamental frustration. If we go like full Freudian about it and go into my childhood and go into my immigrant years, where I really literally did not have the language to speak and be communicating and understood under, that frustration probably built up over time and solidified over time, you know? So, yeah, totally. We have one comment from the termite of PV. Straight men don't want to discuss feelings with their partner. They would rather talk to one of their bros. That's on them, not you. Your words, your actions are what you can control and change. Not all of them talk with their bros, but some, yeah, maybe. I don't know. Do bros actually share feelings with each other? I think it's also relating to trusting yourself ultimately and knowing yourself. And by that, I mean knowing why you say what you say before and when you say it. If you said it in a way that was as kind of what you want, what you know kindness to be, you have to trust that. And also trust that the other person will communicate and not feel responsible for managing others' emotions. Yeah. Very true, y'all. Very true. All right, we're gonna eat the rest of the yogurt that's left in this pot. So I'm back to square one about whether or not I should even continue try dating straight men. Feel like maybe I'll just turn into that one girl who has all these male friends who like feel comfortable coming to me with their feelings. It's just like all the men I've ever loved, but can't find it in themselves to be with me. Let me show you very quickly the clothes that I thrifted, and then I have to hop off. Soonish. Oh, I forgot. I heated food. Wow. Is this ADHD? Red 100% cotton pants that are way too long for me, but it was $8, and it's like old Ann Taylor. I have not seen this logo from Ann Taylor in a very long time. It's made in Brazil. It's 6L. Waist and thighs fit me almost perfectly. It's got a little bit of that like mom jean pouch area going on the crotch, but otherwise great fit. I might trim it down to make it my length because I got shorty legs. We have this, what I'm guessing to be lyocell. I think this might be lyocell because it feels like lyocell. This was $10. The brand is True, T-R-U. Size is 38, and it's a very long shirt that I can fit over my sweater. I think. There we go. I bought it mostly because it feels really nice. You attract what you are if you aren't happy. Interesting. I thought I was happy, but maybe I wasn't. Very interesting. And then finally, a really old, like the collar is discolored, really old, long polo shirt with this cool turquoise and pink fabric lining, and the sleeves are turquoise too. I feel like this would make a really good, comfortable sleep shirt once I wash them. That's it for my haul. I'll eat some of my snacks and then I'll go. I have to do some research. Researching on some connections to weapons manufacturers. Like, what nonprofits are actually being funded by weapons manufacturers? And why would they do that? Why would they do that, y'all? You like my sweater? My mom bought me this when I was in like middle school. She bought it like 4 sizes too big and now it's great. Mom always has the foresight. Looking always into the future, never into the now. Maybe try dating a bi guy. Do you guys recommend dating a bi guy? I also don't feel like, do you feel like, I don't know if finding someone with like a particular sexual orientation will really be the match for me. I do, if anything, I feel like there is a sort of neurodivergency or mental illness at play that is making me find it very difficult to communicate effectively. Men are as emotional as women, they just emote and release it differently and to different people. Yeah. I don't think men aren't emotional. I think the problem is how they express it, for sure. Who they feel safe around. But anyway, here's our cornbread. Still delicious. Here's our mashed potatoes with gravy. And a little gravy on a slab of mushroom. Tastes like Thanksgiving, actually. Guys, thank you for cleaning with me. Thank you for listening to my thoughts. Thank you for all your advice and all the insight. I'm gonna think about whether or not there's been built up frustration before I've spoken that leads to the tone being bad. What was the other thing that I pointed out as being very insightful? Man, I might have to reread this chat again. Experiences are shared more than feelings. DM, if you're still here, what do you mean by that? Oh, man. And hi from Hawaii. I never saw that. Sorry. But yeah. I will be rereading this chat for all of your insights. Thank you for your free therapy. And I'll see you guys next time. Not sure if it's tomorrow, but maybe tomorrow if I can finish all my research on time. Yeah, happy weekend. Take care of yourself. Sleep. Water. Vitamins. Ooh. Men will tell you what happened first, then you figure out how they feel. Interesting. Thank you for that. I'll think about it. Appreciate you all.